For Filipino and other products from Asia, as well as fresh fruits and vegetables, poultry, meats, and seafood, come and visit 88 Supermarket with branches at 4801 Victoria Drive and its new location at 2611 East 49th Avenue in Vancouver.
Philippine News Canada is brought to you by Rayford Media Group.
Hello mga kabayan! Narito na ang pinalawak at pinalakas na coverage ng Philippine News Canada, Balitang Vancouver Nationwide. Mga pangunahing balitang nakalap ng aming news team para sa linggong ito. Mula dito sa Surrey Nagbabalita, ako po si Rosette Correa at ito ang Philippine News Canada, Balitang Vancouver. FCCHS nakipagtalakayan sa mga Liberal MPs.
I'd like to introduce our very special guest, a friend of the Filipino community, member of parliament in Surrey Center, our good friend, Honorable Randeep Saray.
Nakipag-meet si MP Ken Hardy at Randeep Saray sa mga miyembro ng Phil-Canadian Cultural Heritage Society of Surrey upang matalakay ang ilang mga issue at katanungan ng bayan tungkol sa COVID at sa ilang mga concerns ng Phil-Canadian community. Isa sa tinalakay ng mga MP ay ang patuloy na availability ng benefits na ibinibigay ng gobyerno lalo na sa mga naapektuhan ng COVID pandemic. Ayon kay Hardy, patuloy na nagbibigay ayuda ang gobyerno sa nawalan ng trabaho.
First of all, I don't know that you're going to have that much difficulty finding work, because if you recall, before the pandemic, you couldn't walk down the Fraser Highway corridor, you couldn't walk around Guildford without seeing a lot of help wanted signs in windows. Our economy was doing very, very well. That said, the kind of work that was available and would be available are what we call precarious jobs. They're minimum wage, no benefits, and really no job security. So I think there will be a concerted effort to offer something better. Randeep, have you got any details on that?
Sure.
Isa rin sa katanungan ng mga hotel workers na nawala ng trabaho. Tinalakay din ang mga bagong panuntunan sa home ownership at ang mga panibagong stressors na inilagay ng mga bangko.
So the good thing is, just so you know, when CERB hit, we had 3 million people that went on unemployment or CERB. So 3 million people lost their jobs. We can proudly say that 2.7 million of those 3 million are back at work. There's only about 330,000 people that are still seeking employment from the pre-pandemic level, which was the lowest unemployment rate, as Ken said, in the history, at least before I was born, since they started keeping records. It's been the lowest level ever. So, and it was all, and the jobs are the ones that are still bound to come back, or what you were talking about, the hospitality sector, travel, airlines. Airlines just got a package, which is an equity and loan package, not a bailout. So we're hoping those will rebound, and the government will be monitoring that sector quite extensively to support it. They've already been supporting the hotels and the hotel staffers by paying them 75% wage subsidy, their mortgage payments for the hotels until the economy turns around and their revenue goes back up. So we are working on that. So like Ken said, I don't, at least in Lower Mainland in British Columbia, I don't predict it to be a problem. There will be assistance if there is, and if that issue comes up, Rosetta, let Ken or I know, and we'll make sure like the agencies we fund, like Mosaic, Diversity, all of them that help skills options, that they help those type of individuals get jobs again. But like Ken said, up till March last year, you couldn't walk anywhere without seeing a help wanted sign in the windows of any of the businesses around our. And in fact, Ken's in a little wealthier riding than mine, but I can honestly tell you in 5.5 years, other than now in COVID, I have only gotten 2 or 3 people looking for jobs ever come into my office, and I have options like right next door that has a work employment office. I get 1 to 2 employers every week that come in and say I can't find workers. Like that's a given
Yeah.
in Lower Mainland, always begging that they can't find workers. And in fact, this wage subsidy was a result of that. Well, it was a catch-22. Is for both. People didn't want to go and serve if they could still work, but employers also didn't want to lose their good, valuable employees when times were tough. They would rather pay them if the government could subsidize them, pay them through their company so they can still maintain and retain good employees. But nonetheless, we have seen in Burnaby, I think there's an incident at the Hilton Hotel where they're trying to forcefully lay off. There was one in one of the government hotels, government quarantine hotels in Richmond. So, Employment Canada and Labor Relations and all those agencies are watching that. And I ask you to always keep monitor that and get it. It's more provincial usually politically, but let us know if that's the case, and we'll monitor it from our end as well.
Para sa mga estudyante naman, in-extend ang pagbayad ng student loans pati na rin ang pagbukas ng mga summer jobs para sa mga kabataan.
Right now, we're actually hopefully in the final stretch of getting a piece of legislation through that'll freeze interest rates, so you won't have to pay interest on your student loans. And I know that we have increased the amount of money available for grants, which is definitely a good thing. As well, the number of people that are going to be hired during the Canada Summer Jobs Program is about half again. I think we're up to 120,000 across the country now. And I just signed off on, I don't know, many hundreds of jobs in our riding, and I'm sure Randeep did as well. And of course, that's money that helps the students finance their education. Randeep, more to add, I'm sure.
Sure. I think there's just 2 parts. Ken was correct. We froze any interest on student loans from last year, and just as of April 1st, it's actually frozen until March 31st, 2022. So for the next year, there's no interest on any year, though you're just paying the principal back. And I think on new loan recipients, until you make $30,000, it doesn't even trigger your repayment. So it's frozen for till that period. And the grant program, the student grant program, which if you qualify for student loans, that was doubled, I think, in 2016 when we came in, and that doubled amount was doubled again. So it's I don't have the figure real quickly in front of me, but it's somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 that's just a grant given to anybody that qualifies. So we've tried to make it as easy as possible. And currently, if you're working and you're making over 30,000, you're not paying any interest. There's zero interest on it. And if you're just graduated until you find your first job, making at least $30,000, you're not obliged to pay anything at all.
Nagtanong din ng mga attendees tungkol sa posibilidad ng pagpili ng vaccine at ang mass production sa Canada.
There are people who shop. They'll go to a clinic. Oh, I don't want that one. They'll come back another day hoping that whatever they do want is going to be served. There's really a very critical point here, because a lot of information has been swarming out there about the effectiveness of the various vaccines. Where it counts, the vaccines are all equal. They are all 100% effective at making sure you don't get seriously ill, you don't end up in hospital, and you don't die. Okay? Every vaccine so far, with now tens of millions of doses given, have all been 100% effective in preventing those 3 things from happening. So the general advice that has been given pretty consistently is the best vaccine for you is the one that you're offered.
Because it's actually more riskier if you wait for a different one and you catch COVID and you end up having very serious respiratory issues or maybe even death. So it's better to get the first one you can get in your arm is the best and most effective. And all of them have almost, I wouldn't even say almost, they do have a perfect track record in preventing serious health illnesses resulting from COVID and zero deaths after they've been vaccinated.
Tungkol naman sa mga buwis, sinabi rin ni MP Saray na deferred ang pagbayad ng mga taxes hanggang 2022 ng mga individual at mga negosyong nawalan ng income upang makatulong ito sa kanilang
now, another
finances.
question, what is the plan of the government regarding individual and business taxes this year due to COVID? On the individual side, if you have received the CERB or if you've received any of the federal government support programs, and you end up owing taxes, you do not have to pay those taxes until the end of April next year. So, and one of the things that came as a bit of a surprise to a few people, the CERB or the Canada Response Benefit, the CRB, didn't have any deductions taken off it. So in fact, it was like effectively getting, about, I don't know, anywhere from 20 to 30% more, but it is all taxable income. That again, though, if you got any of those benefits, you do not have to pay the taxes owing until the end of April next year. As far as businesses are concerned, I mean, if you made money in your business, you pay taxes. I don't know, Randeep, is there any more to that?
I think that every conversation I've seen publicly or privately with the Prime Minister or the Finance Minister in her talks to boards of trades or otherwise, Canada is not introducing any new taxes. So whether that's personal or business, we'll always look to sharpen loopholes or have tax fairness. So if there's a place that's being misused and whatnot, that might happen. But otherwise, there was a rumor on capital gains. There's no capital gains changes. There's no capital gains tax on principal residence. So there's no taxation plans to increase taxes for anyone this year. So you can rest assured.
How do you respond to claims that Canada has been slow in rolling out its immunization?
Well, it's a long story that I'll try not to make long. Fundamentally, part of the foundational problem that we had is that prior to, I'd say 2015, certainly around 2012, by 2012, we had lost most of our domestic ability to produce vaccines. There were decisions made and a lot of the companies that make vaccines pulled out of Canada. So at the time, it was felt that because of globalization, we could go to another country and buy what we needed. And when the pandemic hit, we discovered the hard way that all of a sudden, what we call vaccine nationalism set in, not just vaccines, but N95 masks and all sorts of other things where companies or countries rather started hoarding this. So when we saw this happening, we immediately set out on a strategy to basically write contracts, line up a supply of vaccines for Canada. The supply that we got, in fact, in total, is one of the best, what we call portfolios in the world. But it isn't going to be as good as a country like the United States, which has homegrown vaccine production and large production facilities. So this is something that we recognized right off. But Canada was one of the first countries in the world to start vaccinating. We started getting our vaccines last December, and this has been slowly building, and well, not even slowly building, it's been ramping up actually quite quickly, so that we will have delivery of 44 million vaccines by June. And everybody who wants their first shot will have one. You will see people trying to make something out of the fact that Canada has only vaccinated 10% of its population or 20%, whereas other countries have vaccinated 36, 50, 60%. These percentages are a little misleading, and I'll give you an example. Malta has, I think, vaccinated something like 63% of its population. So people say, look, Malta, for heaven's sakes. Well, you can put 4 or 5 Maltas inside Metro Vancouver. And it's really easy to vaccinate 60% of 500,000 people. It's a lot easier to do that than to vaccinate 10% of 37 million people. But in fact, that's what's happening. So some of the rhetoric and some of the claims going on really boils down to pure politics. But the bottom line is simply this. We'll get vaccines to you as quickly as we can, and we have had a strategy all along to do that. But everybody knows what they need to do to stay safe in the meantime, because we've been doing it now for a year.
Also, just on that, if you actually look at the graph, I won't be able to share it here, but you can look it up. We're actually ahead of schedule from what we had told everybody and what the contracts we had in December for vaccination. So what really only happened, and obviously we're a internet era, fast communication era, so everybody wants everything in real time, and even a small delay is a big delay. The Canada had to make a choice between contracting with the European suppliers or the American suppliers for the same vaccine. So Moderna has European offices, and same with Pfizer, and American. And with the previous president and even the current, to some degree, they're very protectionist. They've implemented measures to vaccinate themselves before any exports go out. For that fear, Canada chose the European model because of our deals with them and thinking we're much safer, and it turned out much better. However, the Pfizer and Moderna, both of their factories in February, had to refurbish to make more assembly lines to just meet with demand. So they asked for a 3-week kind of pause, and they've actually made up those dosages now. So that was a slow period in February, but the vast speed of accelerated vaccinations in March have been huge. So we're already, I think, at 19% by today. Probably 20% of the population has already been vaccinated with one shot. So we've really caught up to that, and we're actually now on schedule. If not, I think we're ahead of schedule of what our plan of purchases was. So, but the rest of the issue, as Ken said, you can, it's hard to compare with small countries with dense populations in Canada, where we have.
For Filipino and other products from Asia, as well as fresh fruits and vegetables, poultry, meats, and seafood, come and visit 88 Supermarket with branches at 4801 Victoria Drive and its new location at 2611 East 49th Avenue in Vancouver.
Magandang araw sa inyo. Ako po si Tita Eri mula sa Vancouver Public Library. Halina po sa Kwentuhang Pinoy. Kamusta? Yan po ang bati natin sa isa't isa kapag tayo nagpapangita. Kantahin po natin. Mga kamay? Kamusta? 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 Kamusta kayong lahat? Ako'y tuwang-tuwa, masaya't nagagalak. La 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 la. Kamusta? Sana po kayong lahat ay maigi. Nakita niyo po ang palaka dito sa mesa. Ang laki-laki po ng palaka na ito, no? Ang mga palaka po ay iba't iba ang bigkas. Ito po ang aking kaibigang palaka. Sa Tagalog po, ang palaka ay nagsasabi ng kokak, kokak. Pero tinanong ko si Auntie Ding. Ang sabi niya, sa China, ang mga palaka ay ganito ang bigkas. Gaw-gaw, gaw-gaw. At tinanong ko rin si Auntie Chow kung ano ang bigkas ng palaka sa Vietnam. Ang sabi niya, op, 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 op. Iba-iba. Sa Canada at sa Amerika, alam nyo, ang bigkas ng palaka. Ano? Tama. Rebet. Rebet. Ganon. Ayan. Ito, ang kaibigan kong palaka. Kung pipikin niyo ang mata ninyo at pakinggan niyo ang palaka, ganito po ang tunog. Hindi ba parang palaka? Ulitin po natin. Ayan, parang paggabi yan ang bigkas ng mga palaka sa sapa. kakanta po tayo ng palaka na o gak-gak-gak. Tatayo po tayo. Tayo po tayong lahat. At sundan niyo po ako. Ang palaka sa may sapa, masasaya sila. Walang ilong, walang buntot, malakas kong kumanta. O gak gak gak, o gak gak gak, o gali gali gak gak gak, o gak gak gak, o gak gak gak, o gali gali gak gak gak. Ayan po ang kanta tungkol sa palaka, o gak gak gak. O maupo na po tayo. Ano gusto niyo marinig ulit? O sige, ito po. Yan ang o gak gak gak. Sa kwentuhang Pinoy na ito, babasahin po natin ang isang libro na pinamagatang My Daddy is a Giant sa Ingles, pero sa Tagalog, Higante ang Tatay Ko. Ang libro na pong ito ay Higante ang Tatay Ko ay isinulat ni Carl Norak at guhit ni Ingrid Godon. Higante ang tatay ko. Higante ang tatay ko. Kapag gusto ko siyang akyatin, kailangan kong umakyat ng hagdan. Ayan. Kahit kami nagtataguan, kailangan niyang magtago sa likod ng bundok. At kapag pagod na ang mga ulap, nagpapahinga sila't natutulog sa kanyang mga balikat. Kapag nababahinga ang tatay ko, achoo! Parang may bagyo na matatangay nito ang dagat. Kung tumawa ang tatay ko, parang may panibagong bagyo at natatangay ang mga dahon mula sa mga puno. Gustong-gusto ng mga ibon ang tatay ko. Doon sila gumagawa ng pugad sa kanyang buhok. Tignan nyo, may ibon sa kanyang buhok. Kapag naglalaro kami ng football, laging panalo ang tatay ko. Napaabot niya sa buwan ang bola kapag kanya itong sinipa. Wow! Pero, natatalo ko siya sa holen. Dahil masyadong malaki ang kanyang mga daliri. Kasi sa holen, ganito. Natatawa siya. Gustong-gusto ko kapag sinasabi ni tatay, inaabutan mo na ako sa pagtangkad. Kapag tumatakbo ang tatay ko, nayayanig ang sahig, parang natatakot. Ngunit, hindi ako natatakot sa kahit na ano kapag yakap-yakap ako ng tatay ko. Higante ang tatay ko at mahal niya ako ng kanyang higanting puso. At dyan po nagtatapos ang ating kwento, Higante ang Tatay Ko. Mahihiram po ito sa Vancouver Public Library at ang librong ito ay isinalin sa 31 wika. Kasama na po ang Tagalog. Ayan. Napapag-usapan na rin lang ang mga tatay Ang kanta po na ito ay paborito rin po ng maraming magulang at maraming anak. Ito po ay, ang original po nito ay galing sa isang drawing, tapos nilagyan ng musika at nilagyan ng titik. Sundan nyo lang po ang kamay ko. Ano? Sana'y laging may araw. Sana laging may langit. Sana laging may nanay. Sana'y laging ako. Handa na po, mga daliri? Sana'y laging may araw. Sana'y laging may langit. Sana'y laging may nanay. Sana'y laging ako. At pwede po natin gawin imbis na nanay, tatay. O kaya lolo, lola, kuya, ate, tita, tito, o kaya ang alaga nyong aso o pusa. Ulitin po natin pero gawin nating nanay at tatay. Handa na po? Sana'y laging may araw. Sana'y laging may langit. Sana'y laging may nanay at tatay. Sana'y laging ako. Ginamit po natin ang modified sign sa kanta na yan. Maganda po ano? Naku, tumatakbo na naman po ang oras natin. Kantahin po natin ang ating pangwakas na kanta, ang paalam. Handa, mga kamay? Paalam sa inyo, paalam sa inyo, paalam sa lahat. Magkita muli tayo. Maraming salamat po. Ako po si Tita Eri na nagsasabing magkita tayo muli. Paalam!
At dito na naman nagtatapos ang balita namin para sa linggong ito. Kung kayo may mga komento, mga issue o balitang nais niyong ibahagi sa aming programa, ang PNC ay bukas para sa inyong lahat. Mag-email lamang po sa balitangvancouver@gmail.com o tumawag sa 604-588-6397. Mula dito nagbabalita sa Surrey, ako po si Rosette Correa. At ito, ang Philippine News Canada, Balitang Vancouver. For Filipino and other products from Asia, as well as fresh fruits and vegetables, poultry, meats, and seafood, come and visit 88 Supermarket with branches at 4801 Victoria Drive and its new location at 2611 East 49th Avenue in Vancouver.